Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Black Mass. When you're making a film that's a true story or based on a true story, oftentimes the biggest problem with films like that is they're too into the facts. They're too into the things that happen and aren't as concerned with you falling in love with the character. The film's not as concerned with having the film show you why people were so enamored with this character, why this character was such a big deal. They often kind of almost rely on the fact that people just know this person almost as a crutch, like they don't have to do their work as a filmmaker because they kind of feel like, well, we have all the facts in this movie, so this should work, right? And in Black Mass, it shows you how that really doesn't work. In fact, it's a great example on why you need more than just showing the facts. Black Mass definitely fails on that, but it also fails at just being a gangster movie. The thing about all the gangster movies you remember is you don't just remember them just because they were gangster movies. You know those gangster movies because the people who played them expertly well. In fact, I would say the reason that certain gangster movies are big in one generation is usually because it has a phenomenal performance in it, whether it's Cagney in Public Enemy, whether it's Brando and Pacino in The Godfather, whether it's Pacino in Scarface, whether it's the performances in Reservoir Dogs or the performances in Goodfellas. Those are all performances that we remember, and they're all very good performances. But they're also films that get you to fall in love with those characters. You don't see them just as these criminal mobsters. You fell in love with them and you got why they were such a big deal and why people would want to follow them and why you, the audience, were so captivated by it. Black Mass doesn't get that because Black Mass just assumes you will see a Whitey Bulger movie and just kind of hopes that's it. And frankly, that's all it's going to give you because it doesn't give you a great performance by Johnny Depp. It gives a better performance than normal, but he's gone off into crazy super movie stardom too far to really play a real life person or someone who's that captivating. It's the kind of movie that just fails on doing the things that a kind of movie like this should actually do and just hopes that all these facts and everything that really happened will be enough, but instead it makes it probably one of the most boring and bland and dry gangster movies I've ever seen. Whitey Bulger, who was a gangster in the south side of Boston until he started becoming an informant for the FBI, and after that took out the Italian mob from Boston, became a criminal mastermind, taking over Boston, being the main criminal all throughout Boston with the help of the FBI, who helped him get rid of all his competitors and helped keep him safe and not locked up for all those years, mostly through the help of John Connolly, an FBI agent from Boston who knew Whitey Bulger and his brother growing up, played by Joel Edgerton. And his relationship with Whitey Bulger, played by Johnny Depp, is very unhealthy to say the least, as Whitey Bulger uses the FBI to become a bigger and bigger mobster and let nothing stand in his way. When I tell you the story of Whitey Bulger, that's an interesting story. It is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There needs to be more in a movie than just an interesting story. You need to know how to direct it to make it interesting. And Scott Cooper just can't do that, like, at all. He's not a good director. He's good at doing very showy performances, but he doesn't really even understand how to use those showy performances. It almost feels like he puts the camera on a tripod and hopes it all kind of works out. It was an ugly movie to watch. None of the cinematography was very good. It didn't have any really kind of wham bam shots that made me go like, oh wow, this is exciting. It felt so dry, frankly, I needed a glass of water afterwards. It was just such a boring and dull movie about someone who really captivated someone who's a real star presence. And you'd think someone like Johnny Depp, who used to actually be very good at that, and part of the reason he's so famous is he gave an incredible star performance in Jack Sparrow. Instead of doing that kind of movie star thing, he does this weird thing where it's like he's trying to be understated, but he like doesn't know how normal people are understated anymore, and he has these weird like lizard eye contacts. I'm half not sure if he's a lizard person or not, but I also am not sure if he knows how to even be human anymore. Like, he's so off in his I'm so rich, I'm practically in the 1%ville that he just ultimately can't relate. And I'm not saying this because I'm jealous that Johnny Depp is rich or anything like that. I'm not. It's just that his performance just looked very fake. He looked like he was kind of a space alien in comparison to everyone else. And certainly Whitey Bulger should have this special aura around him, and in some places Johnny Depp kind of gets that to work, but for the most part he doesn't, and he just looks really strange and weird, and he doesn't really know how to do things with the makeup. I would say he almost uses it because he feels like he has to use it. He can't be in a good gangster movie like, I don't know, fucking Donnie Brasco. Look at Donnie Brasco and look at this movie and notice the difference in in Johnny Depp's performances. That's what he used to be able to do as an understated performer, but he just doesn't have that quality to him anymore, and that really hurts the film, because gangster movies, I have to think he's the interesting person that all these people are talking about. I have to get why Joel Edgerton is almost like has this childhood crush on him, and I just don't. And that's an important part of the movie, especially if all of your movie hinges on that. Also, this film apparently was originally 3 hours, which sounds like an incredible, terrible prison sentence, because this movie's so fucking dull. It includes all these points that, while they might be interesting, they don't really build to anything, particularly everything about his son and his son's death. There's all sorts of scenes that I'm like, so why did we have that? And I'm sure the director could give some bullshit reason that if you didn't have that, the audience wouldn't get this and that and all this crap. Those scenes don't provide that. They just make it more of a mess of a movie and more hard to slog through as an audience, especially because it has this really horrible like strings going on to like overpower how fucking serious this is. It's like someone going out and going like, you guys, this is like super serious. This is very serious. Listen to the fucking stupid cello music that's going like blah, blah, blah. The score really killed this movie. The direction really killed this movie. The cinematography was flat out bad. It's one of the least fun gangster films I've seen. When I was a kid, I used to think these guys were so cool. I didn't think Whitey Bulger was cool, and I didn't really get why anyone would like him. Someone could probably make a good Whitey Bulger movie, and someone say they probably already have, since The Departed was kind of based on him a little bit. I know it was a remake of another movie, but elements of Whitey Bulger were in there. This film about Whitey Bulger, it felt like more of based on a real life story kind of crap. It just played like kind of a slog of a TV movie. Scott Cooper's, I would say flat out, he's a bad director. He's not a director that understands how to do something visually. He's not a director who gets us to believe in something and understand the struggle and understand how this person became a boss and how he became a huge crime boss and how he took over Boston and why that was interesting. He just kind of expects us to be interested. And that's the biggest flaw of any like based on a real story kind of thing, is because you're sitting there and you're watching and you go, oh, so this is supposed to be important. When I watched Wolf of Wall Street, I didn't know who that person was, and now everybody knows who that person was because of that movie. The Black Mass is not going to make Whitey Bulger any more famous because it's boring. It's hard to get through. I don't know what exactly anyone was thinking with a movie like this. It felt like someone who doesn't really get gangster movies, but gets that gangster movies are important. Most of the biggest and best movies about gangsters are completely fictitious because those directors and writers understand that you're supposed to be interested, you're supposed to be captivated, they're supposed to be a person that is like a rock star, and Whitey Bulger never felt like that. I should at least kind of like him. I didn't really get why John Connolly, played by Joel Edgerton, who might be the best performance in a movie full of showy, shitty performances. Just because you're showy doesn't mean you're saying anything with it. And from Benedict Cumberbatch to Jesse Plemons, who's wasted. The only people I kind of like was Corey Stoll, who's on House of Cards and Ant-Man recently, and Joel Edgerton kind of works it out, but everyone has so many terrible fake Boston accents going throughout it. I guess it's a little notable because of its subject matter, but that's kind of the only thing that's notable about it. There's no real visual metaphors. There's nothing this film is thematically saying. It's just very bland and very expecting you to be like, aren't you captivated by all this murder and all these things going on? But it never really like got you there. It just doesn't seem to understand what is exactly interested in. They have all these interesting facts that are just throwaway lines, and then when they do have something that could be interesting and captivating, they don't shoot it well enough that you'd be anyway interested in this movie. And gangsters can be exciting, but I think Black Mass just doesn't understand how to do that whatsoever, and Scott Cooper is more interested in shooting this in a very bland and boring way and having all these great actors just kind of wasted. Like, this is kind of a typical fall movie because it has a great cast, it's based on a true story, and it's boring as shit and no one's gonna remember it come October, and Black Mass just falls into that. It was incredibly unsatisfying. It felt like double the length it even was. Johnny Depp could at one point have done a fun Whitey Bulger movie, but he just doesn't play it very well. The reason I like The Town or The Departed or any of the Massachusetts gangster movies isn't because they're gangsters in Massachusetts and that was a big deal. It's because they were fun, good action movies. And Black Mass just frankly isn't. It's not good at being a drama. It's not good at telling a true story. Even a film recently I was thinking about that actually worked well with like telling a story and getting me to understand these real life people is a film like Rush. Not a perfect film, and a film that does have a lot of extraneous information just for the fuck of it. I got who Niki Lauda was, and I saw a documentary about something else involving Niki Lauda, and I felt like I understood who he was. That's ignorant of me, it's really stupid of me, but that's how well that film did it. In this, I don't feel like I know who Whitey Bulger was. Frankly, he refused to meet with Johnny Depp, and if I saw this fucking movie and it was based on me, I'd refuse to see him as well, because it doesn't capture an interesting gangster. It doesn't make me want to read a Wikipedia article about Whitey Bulger. It just makes me want everyone to forget about this movie and us to move on culturally. It's just a bad slog of a film, trying so hard to be adult. It comes out to be, frankly, just immature and stupid, because it just didn't understand really kind of making a movie and making a gangster film. This doesn't make gangsters fun. It doesn't make them captivating. It doesn't make the story interesting. It just makes me want to wish that Scott Cooper and Johnny Depp continue to not make movies. Johnny Depp either does ridiculous big budget stuff that I hate, or does small budget stuff that is even more boring and I hate even more. He's not really gonna have a comeback, and part of me doesn't think he ever will. Maybe it's because Scott Cooper, it didn't feel like he was really directing. It felt like he just set up the camera and let these actors do their thing. Feels like someone who has the ego to think it'll work for him. Black Mass has all the ego and the pretension to kind of make itself important, but it's not well written enough or well directed enough or composed well enough to really tell a good gangster movie, to really make you interested in a gangster story. Ends up ruining all of that. It takes a great filmmaker to take anyone's story and make everyone compelled by it and everyone interested in it. But I think with a film like Black Mass, they did the opposite and just made a film that doesn't understand that at all. It doesn't understand how to do any of that and how to get anyone interested in a real life story. It in fact kind of ruins it, and ruins me from ever having to be interested in this at all. I think this is a captivating story, but I think this director didn't understand what made it captivating. He just went, well, it's a captivating story, so I can just sit back. Scott Cooper is the laziest fucking filmmaker. I think most of the time I'm really seeing directors who try too hard. This guy could honestly not give two shits. He has all the actors in the world. He had so much going for this movie, and he ruined it. I've never seen a film that collapsed in on itself as much as a film like Black Mass. It is just a sad state of affairs to see someone waste a real life story like this and a pretty cool idea and concept for a movie and make it so dryly boring and uninteresting. This is just a failure of movie making altogether, and a failure of the gangster genre, and a real sad thing to say, because I think this could have been something cool, but it ends up just being like another forgettable, overly serious, overly important, overly factual kind of crap biopic. We really don't need any more of those. If you want a genre you should really go after and hate, it's pieces of shit like this. This is the kind of movie you should avoid, is biopics that are really more about just telling you facts, and it's outdated, because I have fucking Wikipedia, and frankly, I read the Whitey Bulger Wikipedia, and it was a hell of a lot more entertaining than what it took them months and months to make, and if that doesn't say anything about poor filmmaking, I don't know what does. So if you have seen Black Mass and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.